some lore because it was redeemed. So we're going to do that. So, the Lawless Frontier, the Ragged Valley Sprint. Many are lost to the shore's wayward ebb and flow. The shifting mass gives and takes, pulls and tears. The ground beneath ever uncertain, so tread carefully, as other dangers distract. But death lingers, its grip loose but present, waiting to take hold, waiting to embrace all who walk these tangled lands. It's an excerpt from C.C. Lagrange's translations of writings and observations from the tangled shore, a fallen text. The Ragged Valley is long and harsh and no valley at all, not by traditional definition. Its hollow length runs between a series of lashed asteroids on the shore's far western edge. They call it a valley to be poetic, but in truth it is simply the chaotic space between massive rocks that scrape and smash into one another in a violent dance. The distances from mass to mass ebb and flow without warning, a constant, deadly repositioning of the landscape. That ever-changing hollow is the valley. Only the mad and desperate would dare run its length, with one exception, Yavix, the writer. The reason she made the run changes with the telling. You know she is neither mad nor desperate, what with her skills on a pike and killer determination, but the run itself. It's a legend as awe-inspiring as any Guardian's, save the fact Yavix is a wicked beast and better off dead, the story goes. She was running ether, or making off with lost Golden Age tech. Some say Clovis Bray science. Others tell it was drivers from a forgotten war mind. Or maybe she'd just dropped a Guardian and was running full throttle from a fire team set on revenge, a common theme this far out. Or was it pride? Did a captain or a Kell or an Archon challenge her ability to ride? Did Fick rule? After all, their relationship is complicated. None of that matters, not to me. Each version of the start is as interesting as the next. But the run itself, her ride through the gnashing jaws of death, most Guardians would have heard it, dismiss it. Don't want to give credit to one so infamous, the scorned Baron with the blood on her hands, the loot in tow and her burner set to top speed, but she deserves it. Don't believe me? Ask Marcus Wren. He wasn't there that day, but he'd heard tell and couldn't believe, so he made the run himself. 4 goes, no dice. 1 resurrection, 4 sparrows busted to rubble. Marcus Wren, the Sparrow Racing League champion, hero to the speed junkies and racehounds citywide, couldn't sprint that valley. Too random, he said. Too chaotic. Can't read the rock 1 minute to the next. Can't read the angles. But he tried again on the 5th go. He scraped through a narrow as the collision hit. He'd made it. The impossible was possible, though he refused to admit Yavix could have done the same. Oh my gosh, I'm getting rated. Not that it mattered, that Wren had come out alive, proved it could be done, and if it could, why not Yavix? Not that Yavix ever cared for validation. Not yours, not Wren's, not any Guardians, not any Fallen's, not anyone's. She took pride in recognition from her brother and sister Barons, and no others. So this is page 7, Truth Tinkered. Out here, they who craft their own fate see tomorrow, while they who depend on faith rarely make it through today. Excerpt from C.C. Lagrange's translations of writings and observations from the Tangled Shore, a fallen text. If you had not heard of the machinist before, know that others had. While her crimes may not live in infamy in the hearts of city dwellers, the reef and its unawoken know all too well her long reign of terror. Ilicris, the bandit. They call her Ilicris the Scourge, the scorned machinist, tinker lord of a houseless crew. But should those names be new to your ears, there are others you trust who have felt the pain of her vile campaign. Ask your Eric, of the machinist's deeds. Ask him about the siege of Iran, the hijacked ship, its stolen contents, and its guardian protectors lost or captured at the hands of the scorned. Speak to your vanguard of the soil's soulless descent. More guardians felled and an armory stripped of its cash. The lowly dredge who challenged tradition only to be cast aside. The lowly dredge who found her own strength in a troubling bond with forsaken kin. She grew strong as an outcast, grew mean, then found her purpose with the guidance of a preacher of sorts and a new, more driven crew. Now then, the questions you must ask yourself. Had you known of the Baron's deeds, had you heard tell of the machinist's crimes, could you have changed the path tread from there to here, from yesterday to today? Better yet, your vanguard, your factions, your friends and allies, what all have they kept from you? If they spoke not of the scorned barons, if they issued no warning, is it because they simply did not see the full scale of the danger? Were they too distracted by wars within wars and interests of their own to issue the guidance needed for you to see the shore for the threat it has always been? Perhaps, given guidance, they may well have saved countless lives. Or at least one life in particular. You guys, I think I'm going to do one more. All right, we're going to do one more. An evolution of faith. Find your honor not in your station, nor the words and gifts of those who seek control, but in yourself, in your actions, deeds, and soul. To look anywhere else is a lie. Excerpt from C.C. Lagrange's translations of writings and observations from the tangled shore of fallen text. Fickrell was an archon. Then Fickrell took a fall, beaten, docked, and banished for heresies against Elixni faith. He should have died alone and starved of precious ether. He did not. Instead, he found kin in the form of 7 scorned. With them, he found purpose and power. As their legend grew, he found believers in new truth. His banishment was not penance. It was reward for his convictions, for his courage. Fickrell, the crazed fanatic, Fickrell, the heretic archon who spoke against the very faith he once held dear, scorned and forgotten, but only for so long. Fickrell was a dredge. Before his banishment, before his clarity of purpose, Fickrell was a celebrated leader of fallen faith and a savior to those who embraced his teaching. Archons had long been elevated in fallen society, but their stature grew and their role shifted following the whirlwind, as desperation took hold and the last of the fallen raced across the stars in search of salvation. Their dependence on machines evolved into a deep-rooted need, their weapons to fight, their ships to fly, their servitors to survive. That need became worship, that worship became faith, and the archons, those who oversaw the care and consecration of the servitors, were looked upon to provide hope through their words, teachings, and interpretations of the machine's wants, needs, and desires. But Fickrell saw another path, one that would later be mimicked and twisted by the techno-deviant splicers in the plague lands of Earth, while he and his explored their own darker interpretations of faith. Fickrell is a fanatic, scorned and abandoned. Fickrell is all who strive to regain strength of self and purpose. He is a survivor. He is the outcast priest of the broken plains, and his sermon is death and all the glory that follows. In Fickrell's eyes, and those of the outcasts who rallied to his philosophies, machines were not superior. They were not gods. They were tools, instruments to be mastered and controlled, manipulated in service of Elixni pride. None should grovel for ether. None should have their honor bound to the whims of manufactured deities. But the evolution of Fickrell's faith did not end there. If the machines, the very things that had regulated the whole of their existence, were tools, why not life itself? Why not death? There are many tales of the time between Fickrell's fall and his rise, again as spiritual leader of the scorned barons. His struggle to find strength as a battered dreg, his journeys across the system to challenge his faith, his joining with the other outcasts who were scorned, and his eventual union with his father, The only thing that matters, however, when confronting the dangers of Fikril is this: he is a creature of faith. His faith is the antithesis of all who stand in the light. That faith has raised an army. That army will baptize all who challenge its purpose in an unending sea of death. They will never stop. They will never give in, because they know they are right, and everything you stand for is wrong. The end of the lore section of this